The Red River Farm Network is celebrating Women in Agriculture. It's a special series on throughout this month of March called Agricult-HER, and we've been having some great conversations, and we hope you'll continue to join us throughout this month. Our guest is Julie Peterson from Peterson Farms Seed. Julie, first of all, a treat. I appreciate the chance to connect with you.
Thank you.
Let's start by learning a little bit more about you. I assume you grew up on a farm, Julie?
I did grow up on a farm in northeast Iowa, fifth generation on that farm. We concentrated on corn and soybeans as far as a crop rotation, and then my dad and grandpa raised cattle as well as hogs. Grew up right next door to my grandma and grandpa, just had a wonderful childhood. No FFA in my school district, but we were a 4-H family. So we did a lot of, oh my gosh, a lot of everything. I can't imagine actually being an adult and not having some of the skills that I learned in 4-H. I'm so grateful to my 4-H leaders.
It's one of the blessings, I think, growing up in a small town, don't you think?
Absolutely. Now, I grew up in a small town, but by the time my older siblings went to the small local high school, it was kind of a township high school, and by the time I got to junior high, we were consolidated into Waterloo. So Waterloo is where the John Deere tractor engine assembly plant is, and it was a big school. We transitioned from a very rural school to a very large school.
Then you went on to college. That's where you met Carl, correct?
Yes, went on to Iowa State. I got my degree in business and marketing. Never really thought about agriculture as a career. Just assumed I was a pretty driven person, assumed I would go on to a big city and lead a marketing department, really not knowing what that even meant. But at the time, one of the biggest, most visible consumer goods companies was Procter & Gamble. So I was sure I was going to go on to be vice president of marketing for Procter & Gamble. And then I met the love of my life and left my beloved Iowa and transplanted into North Dakota, and just absolutely fell in love with the people and the farmers and the agriculture of North Dakota. So different from Iowa.
So you and Carl bought a farm when you moved back here moved into North Dakota, and you worked off the farm, if I recall correctly?
No, we didn't buy a farm. I mean, I suppose we moved on to the farm. Carl is third generation.
Okay.
Farmer in North Dakota, so we moved on to his home farm. So third generation outside of Prosper.
And then you went to work off farm, right? You were in the computer business?
Yes. Well, yes, I guess so. Soon after I arrived in North Dakota, I had the just absolute blessing to be one of the first employees at Great Plains Software. And that experience was magnificent in that I was so young and so green and so inexperienced, and I had responsibilities far beyond what I deserved and just learned so much about business. I mean, practical business. I went to school for business, but that does not prepare you for actually working in business. So it was just a great experience for me.
How long were you there, Julie?
Oh, we had a couple kids and decided that, we would turn our attention to raising them. I would turn my attention to raising them and kind of join Carl in the farming dream. At that time, we were a little bit disillusioned. That was the 80s. Those were tough years in the 80s. Disillusioned with commodity farming, and so we were kind of looking for something else we could do. We looked at Christmas trees. We looked at and later established an acre of raspberries, if you can believe it. So where our office sits now, were rows and rows and rows of red raspberries. And so we were already thinking about trying something else, I guess. Our story, we kind of accidentally started. I'd say we accidentally started the seed company in that we had a scab infestation in the wheat, and we bought a gravity table and cleaned our little hearts out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for ourselves and several neighbors, and filled a unit train. And then we had this gravity table and thought, oh my gosh, maybe we could go into the seed business, not really knowing even what the seed business was. And so we did start out in conditioning. Soon after that, we decided to establish our own brand, Peterson Farms Seed. And so we started in soybeans, and I guess that's the genesis of our company.
Isn't it cool, kind of that spark that came really out of the farm crisis days of the 80s, and then dealing with the scab issue that really devastated this region in those days?
It did. But, even though we thought we were in the seed business, we had no idea what the seed business was about. And that was, soon after that is when traits were introduced, and really this was all about technology. This was not about operations. And so really had to fully embrace learning a lot very fast. And I credit my husband for being very smart. And I remember him saying, yeah, I talked to somebody and they said I should find out about XYZ. And where do you find out about XYZ? Well, you find out in Illinois, or you find out in Iowa. And he'd come in the house and say, well, I'm going to Iowa tomorrow. And, just embracing, he just really loves to learn and loves technology. And I credit him with the brains behind the operation.
Maybe some humble beginnings, but when you look at it today, you're one of the largest independent seed companies in the entire country, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's just a lot of trial and error, trying things, being open to change, being willing to take a risk, certainly calculate your risk, but certainly take a risk. Carl has always been the operations guy and the big idea, crazy rabbit trails. If you go down enough crazy rabbit trails, something probably will work out. Don't put your eggs in one basket kind of guy. I was always the person in the background trying to catch all the things that were falling through the cracks and trying to keep the wheels on the train. So what a blessing, to really do it together. I look back and as exciting as my high-tech career was in software, we're both pretty driven people. And if we had been pursuing two dreams in different directions, we would not have had the blessing of working together. And, being able to marry that dream and go down the path together has just been so much fun. It's been really fun to work together. Not that it's been always perfect, but it's been very fun to do it together.
And those innovations still continue. And I look at what you're doing with IP soybeans. They're moving into wheat in just the last few years. Yeah,
there's a lot of technology that we'll be introducing this summer. So there's so much happening in agriculture, right? There's just so much happening. So we're excited to be on the cusp of some of that, and looking forward to talking to you more.
I'm excited about that.
That's a little teaser.
Tell me about what's a tip. Yeah. What's a typical day like in your life?
Gosh, is there a typical? Agriculture is always changing. The weather is always different. We have 60 plus employees, and so there's always something happening somewhere with somebody. But when we were a small company, we just Carl and I wore many, many hats, Gosh, I was doing the HR, I was doing the payroll, I was making meals sometimes when we needed that done. Because I was the person that grew up in Iowa and had walked soybeans before, I was the one that got to lead the roguing crews when we were going out and developing, or cleaning out parent seed. I was on the bagging line a few times when we started the bagging line. So, you just get your hands dirty all over. Now my day has changed. I'm usually in the office about 7:30 and greeting all of our crew as they come to work. I've handed off I guess for the bulk of our history, I've been the marketing manager and led those marketing efforts. I've handed off those responsibilities to a very talented young woman on our team. And so my concentration now is really focusing on our people. And, they're the ones that are getting the business done. They're the ones that are working with customers. They're the ones that are working on the operations. So my role now is to try and facilitate them having good experiences, them liking to come to work. When we hire people, we don't hire them to fill a chair for a year. We hire them thinking they're going to be with us until they retire. And so trying to find things that will facilitate that. Life is too short for people to not want to come to work. So we try and help them want to come to work and enjoy it.
Well, you can see that in your people too. You've got such a great team. It's always fun to work with your crew.
Oh, we do. We have just wonderful team. That's probably, Don, that's probably the thing that Carl and I have enjoyed most about building the business is building a culture where people want to stay, where people can look at what they do and see how it contributes to the goals of the company and the growth of the company, to allow them to grow, and really to allow them to be fulfilled in a career and to feed their families and just to enjoy, like I said, enjoy coming to work every day.
Every company has a culture, whether they know it or not. How do you go about nurturing that, like you have to really create that Peterson Farms Seed brand really throughout your entire team?
Yeah, I wish it was a little bit more programmatic because I just don't think it can be. It needs to be pretty individual. I don't know if it's scalable, to a huge company. It's very personal. It's very one-on-one. It's very team-oriented. I mean, one-on-one, face-to-face, knowing, what's happening in your people's families and caring for them deeply. But it's working on a team, and nobody is more important than anybody else. It is just really allowing people to contribute. So if you're kind of a show horse and want to come in and it's all about me, it's not going to work out very well for you, because we are very team oriented. So a couple of the things that we do, Don, we have monthly company meetings. So even if you're a sales territory manager living out by Minot, we ask you to come into the office every month, and we have a 1 to 1.5 hour company meeting, kind of give a business update about what's happening, but then do some silly things and celebrate things as well. So we do a lot of celebrations. We sing happy birthday to everybody during that month. We celebrate company anniversaries. I'll come back to that in a minute. We just try, and we have something called a Joy Squad, which is kind of a silly thing. When I named it, I thought it was kind of fun, but the Joy Squad is charged with bringing unexpected, maybe, joy to everyday workplace. For taco, they had Taco Friday the other day, and cookies on people's desk. It usually revolves around food, but there's some other things too. We've had some fundraisers. On Mario Kart Day, we play Mario Kart in our conference room, and we have prizes. And we just try and have some fun along the way, and that goes a long way. It just really goes a long way for people feeling cared about.
Those little things make a huge difference, don't they?
They do, but it's hard to program them.
Yeah.
They're kind of one-offs all the time, because that's what makes them unexpected and fun. So,
You mentioned work anniversaries. I want to bring you back to that.
yes. So we call them Peterson Versaries. And when we were first, I don't know, I was probably 11 years old. Our company was 11 years old, and we're now 27, by the way. But when we turned 11 or 12, we were faced with our first person who'd been there, besides Carl and I, for 10 years. Oh, it's probably longer than that. It's probably 14 years, something like that. And gosh, how do we thank this person? How do we express our gratitude to this person who, when you've got a growing company, their job on day one is nothing like their job in year 10. Because, we've reinvented ourselves 2 or 3 times along that way. So their job has had to been invented too. So we were kind of like, what do we do to thank them? Let's do something big. And so we started sending that person and their spouse on a 10-year anniversary trip anywhere they wanted to go in the United States. And so that first year we had 2 people. We had the person who was leading all of our operations, and we had our very first warehouse worker. And both of them chose to go to Hawaii. And since then, we've probably sent, 15 people. And right now, we've got somebody that, and so we had our first people hit 20 years, and so we decided to repeat it. So right now, we've got one of our guys in Hawaii on his second trip to Hawaii, and I cannot tell you how much joy that brings Carl and I to when we stand up in front of that room and thank people that have been so loyal and have brought so many good ideas and have been the bridge between the company and the customer. And it brings us a great amount of joy to award those trips.
That is too cool.
So that's Peterson.
Like Peterson Farms Seed, the Red River Farm Network's 27 years old as well. So I always like we kind of move hand in hand, I think.
Yes, Don. You can remember what those early years were actually like, and those were some pretty tough times.
Yeah. What advice do you? This is a series where we're talking to women in agriculture. What would you have for maybe feedback or input that you'd give to others?
I think my advice to young people, in particular, doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man, actually. I think, first of all, you need to set priorities. You can't be good at everything. You're going to have to choose what you're really going to get good at. And some things are going to have to wait. I remember many times somebody'd say, well, part of it, personal things that I wanted to work on or develop. And they'd say, oh, I'm really enjoying this or that, travel, whatever. And I'd say, that's really interesting to me, but that will have to wait for another chapter of my life. Right now, my chapter, I need to prioritize, and this is what I'm concentrating on. So you can't be good at everything. You need to pick and choose. You have to set goals, and really stay clear on what your mission is. Another thing would be to treat people the way you would want to be treated. In my youth, that would have been called the golden rule. It still is called the golden rule, of course. But people matter, and if you put yourself in their shoes, you can just do so much good. People matter, words matter. You can use your words to encourage others, or you can use your words to tear them down, and there's just no benefit in the latter. And there's so much benefit, to people, certainly, but also to your business. Your business will be better if you're good to people. Another thing, I guess, would be to try things. Take a little risk, reinvent yourself, make change your friend. I've got a plaque on my office wall that says, "Blessed are the flexible, for we shall not be bent out of shape." I remember early in my career, just every time there was a change, thinking, why is this always on me that needs to change? But if you embrace change and just think that that's just part of the growth, you'll feel so much better about everything. And then have fun along the way. Life is just too short. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. So whatever you're working at, have fun doing it. And then I suppose,
I couldn't agree more.
Specifically to women, I believe in yourself. And I think the best way to believe in yourself is to be good at something. So whatever those priorities are, get good at them, and then believe in yourself. And then I guess the corollary is don't take any guff from anybody, because if you're good at it and you believe that you're good at it, don't let anybody say you're not or push you around. I think that's less of an issue today, Don, than it probably was 25 years ago. But even 25 years ago, I just didn't think much about that, I guess. Carl has been a great partner and has been the president of my fan club, I'd say. And so he's always encouraged me to tackle anything, believing I can do it. And so that's always helped me know that I could do things as well.
What a great team. Julie, I sure appreciate having this conversation. It's been fun visiting with you about all this stuff.
Sure. Thank you, Don. I hope that's what you're looking for. It seems a little personal, but thank you.
I love having this conversation. Again, Julie Peterson, our guest, as we are celebrating women in agriculture this month, our special series called Agriculture.